So today on the Entertainment Jungle, we are going to talk about the Bricklayer, which the title has nothing to do with this movie, and that's my main question that we're going to talk about up next on the Entertainment Jungle. Nothing to do with this. Yeah. So we're jumping ahead right away because wait till my first question comes up. So this movie came out on Netflix recently. It's called The Bricklayer, starring Aaron Eckhart and Nina Dobrev, I believe is how you say her. But I think we're finally back on track with IMDb not knowing how to describe movies. So this one is an ex-CIA agent is reactivated when an extortionist targets the agency. Kinda, right?
That is what we are led to believe the plot is early on in the movie.
All right, fair point. So let's jump right in it, and I want to get your overall thoughts. It's just me and Ryan the Lion today, as you can see. Everybody else is left. Not based on the movie, but we can't be sure until we talk to them next week. So I want to know your overall thoughts on the Bricklayer.
Well, funny thing about this is as I was watching it, I found myself I was like, who made this movie? And I had to look it up, and it was no surprise to me once I found the answer that it was Rennie Harlin, who has made movies that I enjoy, but all movies that feel like varying degrees of this exact movie. He's done like Cliffhanger, Deep Blue Sea, Blast from the Past.
Blast with Brendan Fraser?
Blast from the Past, yeah, man.
Oh my
this
god.
Movie is wild. It's like all over the place. A movie called Mind Hunters, but Die Hard 2.
It's insanity.
But this had that same kind of feel, but it lacked, the charm of some of those other movies that made them and honestly, like, the dialogue wasn't there. Like, there was some cool action, but it just felt lifeless. Like it didn't have the heart that it needed to actually like pull this off. So yeah, it just it was a Rennie Harlin movie to me, but it just fell short of the mark.
Right away, like it hit the mark. I feel like a broken record every week, but the pacing on this movie, it's just like this movie just started. Like it didn't even have like a production. It didn't even have credits in the beginning. It was just like, here's the movie, and I'm like, whoa, all right. And then like the first scene, I was already confused. He gives the information to the reporter and then just shoots her, and I'm like, well, if you want me to be confused, okay. And then it goes into like 5 minutes of backstory that I'm like, oh, all right, let's have. So this was this, to me, it was kind of like all over the place right away. And I'm like, well, maybe it'll like, pan out. And then let's just say I was sadly mistaken about that. So I guess it's called The Bricklayer. Let's get right into it, right? As you can see on the TV right here, he is just a bricklayer. Like, he was a former, I guess, CIA agent, right? And then he retires, and his retirement job is laying bricks. Like, funny enough, we're from Philadelphia, and he was working on a rooftop in Philadelphia. So, like, all right, fine. But in these kind of movies, that becomes a big plot point. And they tried to fit it in one scene, which made me laugh. But like it wasn't his nickname. It didn't really come in. Like his skills didn't come into play. Like I have like tough hands for being a brick. Like he always travels with his tools, and they kind of showed up once in like a fight scene. Like, what was the point of that calling him the bricklayer and having him be a bricklayer in this movie? In your mind, did it matter?
No, but it was. I mean, I don't. Did you see The Beekeeper with Jason Statham?
Not yet, but that is top on my list to watch,
that's,
actually.
like, I thought it was gonna be something like that. Like in that movie, Jason Statham was like this, badass covert operative that was known as like codename the Beekeeper. And then when he retired from that life, he became a beekeeper. So like, calling him the Beekeeper made a lot of sense. This, like, it was kind of on like doing that same kind of thing, like, oh, covert operative retires, gets normal job, and that's just what his normal job was. But like, it had, like you said, like, it had no tie-in to anything else other than that's just what he did, both before and after being a covert operative. So like, it was like that, like, that's fine, but don't act like it matters more than it does. Like, I mean, you could absolutely have a guy like do something after retirement that isn't related to what he did in this, but don't lay on like, ooh, this matters, because it didn't.
My favorite part of the whole thing was when he was like in that guy's house with the fireplace, and then he just so happens to like find the brick that is like the secret compartment, and it made me laugh so much.
He's
because
like, I know bricks. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, as like a covert operative, you can't just like have skills of observation.
Yeah, right. He's gotta have like.
Never noticed it. Really? Like, really? Because I know that when I saw National Treasure, Nick Cage noticed that there was an odd brick. He didn't have any skill set. He just observed an odd brick. Anyone could do that.
It's pretty obvious. Yeah. So that was my hope. The whole thing was, I was like, all right, he doesn't have to be a bricklayer, but thanks for trying. Like, but that was really. So I once again, I'm gonna even skip my pacing talk. I'm gonna talk about the fights. I'm gonna talk about the fights in this one, because I don't know how to word this. I think he thought they were cool, but there was so much cutting that I couldn't follow any of it. So it's like, even the stuff that was cool, I was like, I couldn't find. And I watched this with my dad, who's obviously a little bit older than us. He was like, it's dark, it's raining, and they're both wearing black leather. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of not a good sign for a fight. So like, some of these fights were cool. And the other thing I wanted to know if you noticed was the sound effects were heightened. Like, every time he threw like a bottle, it was like that. Like, anyone can Google like bottle on sound effect. But that, I was curious what you kind of thought of the fights in this one, if they like kind of stood out to you. I mean, obviously not as bad as maybe Roadhouse, but
I mean, they were definitely. I mean, I think I am 99% confident that Aaron Eckhart was like not even on set for any of these fights.
That's
like,
so
I
great.
don't believe that he was anywhere near a single one of these fights. So of course, like, yeah, it's gonna be dark. They're gonna have to like not show his face, or if they're gonna show his face, it's gonna be like a cut, because he's not involved in these. Like, Aaron Eckhart is. I like Aaron Eckhart. Like, I'm sure he's in decent shape, but like, Aaron Eckhart can't fight. Aaron Eckhart can't pretend to fight. Like, these. I think it was a crutch, because I don't think Aaron Eckhart's a fighter.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been the whole situation here, because it was just, to me, it was like, it was really funny. And then, like I said, someone else I was watching with, it was like pointing out one by one all the flaws to this fight. I'm like, okay. You got a point there, like, it's like, all right, I get it. Um,
They weren't. They weren't. And they weren't. I mean, there weren't a lot of like what there were like 2 or 3 like fight scenes. I would say
yeah, it
there was
was.
like
I
the
mean,
one
it
in the
wasn't.
club. There was the one on the roof, and then other than that, not a lot of like fights.
Yeah, they were trying to like toe the line between one of those like espionage thrillers
Yeah.
and like a well, man, make up a genre like a travel the world beating people up, like
Yeah.
you know. So
But like a reluctant badass.
yes, like I have to do this. Like I have to. Oh, what? Who did that so much better? There's so
Bruce
many more
Willis in
movies.
Die Hard.
I was gonna say, or like I'm trying to think of like I don't really want to fight. Who's the one that doesn't use like even
Tom
John Wick to
Cruise
some
in
extent.
Reacher.
Yeah, I don't use
Uh,
guns. I don't want to fight or something like that. Like,
The Rock in The Rundown.
yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I feel like that's like such a common trope though. Like the guy who knows that he's gonna win the fight, so he doesn't even want to fight. Yeah. It's like, I'm too good with weapons. I don't like to use them. I'll just kill you.
All right, so I want let's talk about some of the other characters in this movie. One that I liked and one that I thought was random for no kind of reason. Can you guess the one that I liked?
The one that you liked,
There's
was
only
it
about
Nina
5
Dobrev?
characters. Well, yeah, she. All right, 2 I liked. I did like her, but there's another character.
Was it his buddy?
Yeah,
Like the guy? Yeah, I liked that guy.
his like Q, his like
Yeah,
had all the
yeah.
gadgets and everything.
Like
I'm
souped up the
like,
car. Like I added 550 horsepower. It was like, oh, all
yeah,
right.
he was the only one that I liked, and then of course like he died, and I was like, oh no, the only character I like is dying. But that's how I felt. There was no more than, oh no, super sad for about 1 second, and then I'm back to the movie. It's fine. I know. It's like, wait a second. That was a little crazy. But the character I want to talk about is, what was her name? The like the ex CIA agent, or his like
Ty.
in,
I think.
her like the informant in Greece, or the only one that could help him. All of a sudden, yeah,
Yeah, the
Ty,
like head of
yeah,
station in Greece.
yeah, the head of
Yeah,
station.
Ty. Yeah.
Once again, she just like shows up, and we're like, okay, and then she disappears, and then she comes back to have a pivotal role in the ending, and I'm like, I hate when that happens. Like, don't, if you're gonna give me a character that especially is gonna have a big part, give her a bigger part, right? That's kind of like,
I would love to know what happened with like the editing of this movie, because yeah, it definitely seemed like she was just like there,
interesting.
gone, there, gone. It was like, what is the point? Like, why not have her like join him once? Because like, what, they shut down her station, so at that point it would like allow for her to kind of like join him in his mission and like at least let us like grow some sort of like feelings towards her and them, instead of
I
just
know.
very disjointed, like, hey, what are you doing here? Oh, hey, we love each other. Oh, hey, I'm just the villain.
That's exactly how it felt. And then even at the end, I was like, oh wait, she was the mole working with the bad guy, but why? Like, I still had the like, why was it? Did I miss something? Why was she working with him, or was he working for her?
Seemingly to get the money, like that. Like at the end, remember she had the money.
Oh, all right. I mean, I guess that's an easy motive for things, but for me, I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
That's kind of how I felt.
A lot of. They didn't give us any of her motivations. Like even when Aaron Eckhart,
Yeah.
like, why didn't you come with me? She's like, yeah, I should have, but I didn't, and now I'm different. What? But how? What happened? Did anything happen? She was like seemingly she just continued to do her job that she had already been doing for like what you say, like 20 years. So what changed? We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what, like, she was such a pivotal part of the movie, and then she was just she showed up and she was I was like, okay, great. I have nothing to say. Like, it reminds me of my worst why I never liked Game of Thrones was like they had a character that they put in a dungeon and then never showed him for like 3 episodes, and then all of a sudden he was like a big part of the story. I was like, wait a second. This is it. So, oh good, I'm glad I stopped watching. Anyway, so we kind of touched on a lot of this stuff, but there's a couple things that I wanted to know, like if you thought they would pan out. Like one thing they do in these movies was Nina Dobrev's character, she had like a sneeze, right? Like, and it was like kind of a big plot point at points. Like they were like, I'm allergic to the dog. Oh, he must have had a dog and this. And then I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's gonna end like one of the best endings ever in like Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, where the original great ending. And then it was just a character trait that really didn't connect to anything. I'm like, why did it make her like more likable or less likable or anything? Like,
I mean, it just kind of gave Aaron Eckhart more ammunition to like shit on her early on in the movie.
oh yeah, he did do that a lot, actually.
Like from the moment that they like encounter each other and start like going on this mission together, he just spends the first like 15 minutes of screen time between the two of them just tearing her apart.
Yeah.
And it was like some of it was kind of funny, but also like pretty rough.
And then she, like, on the plane erases his record, I think, for something, or like there is a lot of these little moments that I'm like, oh, it's gonna pan out. I better pay attention, and then it just nothing came of it.
That moment that you just referenced.
Yeah, she was like going through his information on the plane when he fell asleep, and then they're about to land, and she like wipes the hard drive with her hand or something, and I'm like, oh, all right. And then I just wrote down like she erased his record? ?
No, I feel like she must have just been, because I don't think she did anything that early.
I don't know.
Anyway, not like. It seemed like she was pretty by the book for most of the movie.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I'm like, well, I don't know. What did you think of their chemistry? Do you think they had like okay chemistry? I don't know. I thought it was a little. Yeah. All right. Yeah, me neither.
I thought that she was trying. I did not think that Aaron Eckhart cared about this movie at all. Really felt like he was phoning it in. I think he just wanted a vacation in Greece.
And my dumb movie moment, would it have been better at the end if he died? So he gets shot like twice, like point blank in that point. And then he's just alive. And I was like, oh. I mean, I know people don't die in movies, but what was the point of him either being alive, or would it have made sense if he didn't survive? I'm like, I don't know. Like, what was the point of all?
Because the ending that we get for Nina Dobrev would have, I think, worked. Like, if it was the exact same ending for her, but he was dead, I feel like it would have worked better.
Yeah.
Because like she just goes off like on her own to do whatever, but like, so like they're like seemingly never going to interact again anyway. So what was the point? Like,
she could have taken his.
He is alive.
Actually, yeah. Now that you're saying it would have been so much better if he did, because then it would have given her even more of a reason to not accept the promotion.
100%, yes. Because then she's like, "No, you know what? I've seen what happens. I saw this guy. You made him out to be a bad guy, but he was actually the good guy, and he died for this country. And now you want me to like be a part of what you're doing? That's terrible. I'm gonna go and like find a way to be a good person and help people and do something because like of this tragedy that I experienced. But instead, it was just like." No, he's fine, but I'm still like gonna go.
Yeah, it makes so much more sense.
It would have had more, depth to it.
Yeah, because that actually makes way more sense. Because even when she denied the promotion, I was like, sure, but you didn't really have like there was corruption by that one lady. Like you found out Tim Blake Nelson's character wasn't corrupt, so like what was I don't know.
Like, him not understanding the bricklaying metaphor really struck a chord with her. Like her face in that moment, I was like, so what? Like, why does that matter?
Yeah, I was.
Like, Aaron Eckhart's like, yeah,
weird.
I knew you wouldn't get it, and Nina Dobrev is like, yeah, he didn't get it. It's like, all right.
I'm gonna quit and do.
I feel like he was probably supposed to die at one point, which also reminds me of Deep Blue Sea, wherein LL Cool J's.
Oh yeah.
Spoiler for Deep Blue Sea, by the way, just in case people haven't seen this 25-year-old movie. But,
you should see Deep Blue Sea, by the way, but continue. Yeah. Want
spoilers. Skip over what I'm about to say. But anywho, in that movie, LL Cool J's character was supposed to die, which actually would have been an insane choice. And I'm really glad that they changed it because he was supposed to die and the doctor was supposed to live, because Rennie Harlan thought that she was the hero of the movie until they screened it and saw the response of people, and they were like, oh my god, they hate her and love LL. What are we doing? Let's flip this. And that was a great decision. This seems like it was potentially that kind of decision that backfired.
That's very true. And I even like to piggyback what LL Cool J, doesn't he say like, nah, the lone black guy's going to die in this movie. And then he doesn't. And I'm like, it even becomes a better part of that like character where he's like telling you what to do.
Situations like this.
And he survives just to like give his secret omelet recipe. Like, every part of that was like, could have been helpful for this movie. You know, like instead of the sneeze, give her a character trait. Let the other guy die so she has a better ending. Like all these things could have pushed this to like a little bit of a better.
Or have, again, like I thought if that, you know, head of station Ty, if she had been a part of the mission with him, it would have made the reveal at the end that she was actually working with the bad guy all that more like, oh my god, like, but she was, oh, we thought she was helping, but she actually wasn't. And it would have been like, oh, and maybe she was potentially sabotaging them along the way.
Yes, exactly. I was just gonna say that. Like maybe it would have even give the audience like, oh, whoa, why is she doing that, or why is she saying that? That would have been so much better. But nope, they didn't do any of that. They just let it linger and
they didn't do any of those cool things that we thought of.
Yeah, we're like, oh man, it should have done this and it should have done this.
Could have been a great movie.
It could have been a real great movie. So I had a feeling we'd be on the same page, but I was curious if there's anything else I missed or anything else you need clarified, or if there was any part of this movie that you kind of liked or anything that we didn't touch on so far. I didn't think this was going to be a wild review of a crazy movie with a lot of things going on, but
I mean, I was kind of bummed that the villain kind of got killed. Like I feel like he was somewhat justified in his anger, and I don't really know why we were supposed to care about that Costas guy. Like that was like a huge plot point. Like that he was supposed to kill the Costas guy, and then he was gonna kill the Costas guy. I don't even know who that guy is.
Yeah, they made it a big thing. Like that was the reason his family died almost, because he didn't do what he was supposed to do. So,
but that guy, again, like it's a character that we don't know anything about. He's just like off to the side and mentioned a few times.
Yeah. And
then like the big like ending where it's like, oh, I'm gonna kill this guy. It's like, all right, I'm giving shit.
But I guess you're right. Out of all the characters in this, the villain had the best, I don't want to say backstory, but the most reason for what he was doing. Like
he was the only one that had at least
like
a story, really. Like no one, like we don't know anything about why Ty decided, like, oh,
Yeah.
I mean, she just seemingly just got tired of doing whatever she was doing and wanted money instead, which, I mean, I get that to some extent, but again, it would have been cool to get like a little more insight there.
Which
I mean,
which is so funny because I started off this whole conversation by saying they gave us so much information, both backstory and like misdirections or whatever you want to call it, like right off the bat. But then when it was important to give us information, they were like, nah.
or again, like more about the Q character, like that guy's
Yeah.
cool, but like his death could have definitely meant more if we knew a little bit more about him.
Yes.
Dobrev, I thought she did a nice job, but we didn't get a ton of backstory there. Like, we know that she's like a type A personality, but that's kind of all we get. Like, it's all very, one dimensional.
Yes. Oh, that's a very good way to phrase this. Yes. So I don't think you're going to be surprised with the ratings. I'm just going to say. So we have IMDb at a 5.1 out of 10. Okay. We have the critics at a 48%. And the audience at a 30%.
Ooh.
Which is pretty low even for the audience, but that means something. So like
I feel like
if the audience
got a pretty high audience scores recently.
I know, so that's why I'm like, oh man, this one's not good, everybody. Let's see, what is our banana rating? I can even go first if you want, because I was ready for this actually.
Yeah, go for
which
it.
I very rarely go first.
So by all means.
So I'm not even gonna hesitate. It's a 5. it's 100. It's 100%. It is a 5. I don't even have 5 fingers, but it is a 5. I forgot about this movie while I was researching this. Like I just forgot about it. I watched it like 2 days ago, and I just forgot. So it's a shame Walter's not here with us but it is definitely a 5 for me. There's no doubt about it, because it had promise, but like nothing panned out, and there was like there was a cool action fight here, but like whatever, like it's completely forgettable. Yeah. In my opinion. So you may be close, but I don't sway your rating. But what do you got?
Oh no, I knew you were giving it a 5 because I am also giving it a 5.
Every time
Walter established our scale that this is definitely a forgettable movie. Like I mentioned earlier, I mean, it's a Renny Harlin movie. I certainly like what Renny Harlin does, but this is one of the more like forgettable paint by numbers versions of his movies. Like, you have your hero who is like, he's got a rough exterior, but he's got this moral code that he'll never break, and it just, action scenes that are kind of cool until you think about them, and it's like, oh yeah, that made sense. But and yeah, it's certainly not going to be remembered as fondly as Deep Blue Sea or Cliffhanger.
Nope, way higher. Even Die Hard 2.
Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Yeah, even that was probably a 5.5 or something.
So yeah, I mean, this one, I may never think of it again. And
I know it's very rare that like, I completely forget a movie, but this one was just. I was like, oh, let me get the pictures and the trailer for the show, and I'm like, what was the name? I watched it one day ago, and I just completely forgot what this one was called. So, I mean, it's funny every time. Like I said, every time me and you do a show with just the two of us, it seems to be we're always on the same page.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm not sure why,
I mean,
but
this was like a 5 through and through. I mean,
yeah. I mean, there's no There's no way this wasn't a 5. So
Yeah. I mean, Clifton Collins Jr. He was like our big bad, and I feel like he was like barely even in the movie.
yeah, I had to look him up. I'm like, oh, I know this actor from like other things, like a character role and everything, and I'm like, I don't know.
And he's a good actor. Like, I mean, I feel like a lot of these, I like a lot of these actors. There just wasn't a lot here.
I know. So I mean, listen, if you agree with us, then you have to like, subscribe, and share this show with everyone. If you disagree with us, you have to like, subscribe, and share this with everyone. Because maybe I heard a term once. I forget who's coined it, but someone said if you're gonna be like an actor, you're making somebody's favorite movie. Like there's somebody in the world that this is their favorite movie. I don't think that's true with this one, but there were some parts that I liked, but I think this is completely forgettable. So sorry, Rennie. Maybe next time.
Quack you next time.
Oh, I think that wampum is gonna be perfect timing for the end credit video that I play. And it's gonna be great.